And he does join us. Unfortunately, Adam Kingsley isn't privy to discussions that have been had over the journey. The kick-out stat has caused many an argument in this building. Let's welcome to the professor himself, or the doctor. He's got the stethoscope, so it's Dr. Hoyne tonight. Welcome, Doctor.
Hello, G. Hello, Sammy.
Hoyney.
How are you?
Righto, let's get stuck into it. Adam Kingsley, like a number of coaches, are monitoring the program. Talk to him direct.
I hadn't heard that from from Adam, so I'm glad that he's listening to the show. But it does cause a lot of controversy and a lot of stern feedback, both from within the industry and across the public, as to why we actually still give a disposal once the player actually plays on out of the goal square. But forever and a day in AFL world, once you do play on from the goal square, you've always been recognised as having that disposal from there. The rules obviously change that you're allowed to actually walk out as, and it happens more frequently now than what it does. However, as I keep saying to you and to Sammy on this show, very rarely do myself. I very rarely look at the disposal count, because the game has gone past the disposal side of things. It's always been around for 150 years. I get that, but the impact that you're having, from that actual disposal is absolutely very, very limited, which comes up in our rating system.
That being the case, Hoyney, do you think we should keep that rule that you can just play on willy-nilly, or reintroduce the integrity of the 9 metre square, which is what I'd do?
Do you want me to answer that honestly?
Yeah.
Couldn't care less.
Okay. Couldn't care less, he says.
I like how much of a gentleman is he? He asked first and then whack.
What about the integrity of the 10-yard square?
Right. Can you just tell me, did you score from it? Where'd the kick in go?
That's
what
right,
actually
okay.
happened? I couldn't, whatever.
Daniel Hoyne from Chevy Data brings us his full-on footy analysis each and every Tuesday here on Sportsday, and he does it for WorkSafe, working fatigued on farm. Search fatigue on farm. He's hot. He's hot. So I'm looking forward. He's red hot. He's taken no prisoners.
It's got to be Movember time, surely.
Yeah, we got an update there.
Yeah, we did. So we introduced this, about 2 months ago. This 2025 footies, we keep talking about. It's how you use it, and the ball movement game is everything, and it's 75% of overall scoring. So for those that are new to this, the Movember, we're calling it. If you can't move it in September, forget about your campaign for this season. So we're looking at scoring that happens right across the ground, taking out centre bounce, which, whether or not you think that's, ball movement, up to you. That's not part of this. And forward half stoppage work. It's a bit more sort of, talent related, as opposed to absolute pure ball movement. So that's everything there. So keep it in mind. Go back and run the exercise for 10 years at this stage of the season, at round 11. The Premier has sat top 6 every year for 10 years in a row at this stage of the year. They, some either, get better as the season goes on, some just hold that rating, but they've always been top 6 at this stage of the season. So the top 6 as it sits right now in the Movember ladder at round 11. So Adelaide sit number 1 on there. They have both aspects. They have offensively and defensively got the ball movement game.
Do you have to be top 6 in both?
No, just top 6 as a collective. No, as a collective. Okay, right. Yep, just the overall differential. Yep. So Adelaide 1, Collingwood 2. They've got both aspects down pat. The Giants come in at number 3. They're actually going really well defensively. Got a little bit of work to do offensively, but defensively in the ball movement game, really strong. Gold Coast, number 4. They have both aspects of the ball movement game down pat. The Hawks, 5. Defensively, rock solid. Got work to do. We'll talk about Hawthorn as the show goes on. And Geelong round out number 6. The Lions sit just outside at number 7.
Are you prepared to expand to include the Lions? Because you're telling me some of the favourites can't win it. Pies aren't there?
No, Pies are there. Pies are number 2. Okay. Yeah, so just to recap that order in 1 to 6. Adelaide 1, Collingwood 2, Giants 3, Gold Coast 4, Hawthorn 5, Geelong 6. Lions sit at number 7.
So the Western Bulldogs would be the only club that people think can win the flag that aren't there, and Fremantle.
Yep, and ironically, both are on our agenda items today through
I
this
hope,
show.
I hope the Blues are on the agenda item because we gave them
were on
few
it
for a
last week.
little bit of homework, didn't we?
Oh, we did.
Just how horrific they're
A
kicking.
little bit of
we
homework.
needed
I started the preparation at 7:01 last week when you gave it to me.
Well, I'm not saying we get to it yet, but I just need to devote just how poor they are by foot. I'd love to see, because speaking of Adelaide's ball movement, what Adelaide did to Carlton earlier this year was such a stark contrast in ability and method. All right, the Flat Earthers.
The Flat Earthers.
Who's a Flat
I
Earther?
want to talk about the Flat Earthers because the Flat Earthers are still selecting a genuine second ruckman. So the data analytical match committees are already past this discussion piece.
Good.
They are what the dictionary would describe as people that hold outdated or disproven beliefs. They're the Flat Earthers.
Is that with a TH or an F?
That's with a TH.
TH.
So I want to get into the second ruck conversation because we're seeing, we're almost now at the halfway stage of this season. So I think we're getting close to that stage of, there's a long way to go, there's a long way to go. You've got to start to get rolling at some stage over the next 6 weeks before, the back end of the season really starts to launch. So is this message
specifically directed at anybody like Fremantle or
might be a couple of clubs that are on the radar here, but we'll just in general terms. So just think of this as your own footy club, right? And in this position as second ruck, right? So on average this year, the second ruck attends 15 ruck contests a game outside of the forward. So I'm not counting the forward 50 work. Outside of forward 50, 15 ruck contests a game.
Yep.
On average, your second ruck attends 1 centre bounce per quarter. Right? So 4 centre bounces for the game, 1 per quarter. What the returns that are coming back, both from a scoreboard return, from a clearance return, from a first possession return, whatever way that you want to look at it, when the second ruck is in at stoppage, there's a goal generated from stoppage in that time.
Yeah.
Right? Throughout the whole game. There's one goal. For your team, there's 1 goal for the oppo.
Yep.
So I think if you're sitting there at match committee and if it's your team, you're thinking, who should we play as our second ruck this week and whatever. To me, I'm looking at that going, that is the least of my concerns.
Right.
And the magnet piece that I'm actually not too concerned about consuming so much of this time. I'm more worried about your primary position. What are you doing in your primary position? Are you generating what I want to generate? I'm not worried about, but you're attending 1 centre bounce a quarter for me. No, I don't know. I'll find that elsewhere. So the teams that I'm interested in over the next 6 weeks, once we start to get into that runway situation. So you look at Carlton, and we'll do a deeper dive on Carlton coming up next, right? So Sammy, come with me on this. So Mark Blitzarves aside, whose second ruck numbers are just ridiculous. Like when he goes into the second ruck, it's been a high return. There's no other ruckman in the competition that's actually jumping off the scales, going, they're having a significant influence. But Harry Mackay's returns as a second ruck is second behind Mark Blitzarves this year. But yet in 4 games this year, Lewis Young has played as the second ruck. And Harry's played as a second ruck 4 times. So if I'm a Carlton supporter looking at Lewis Young, I'm looking at going, he has to play as a second key back as opposed to playing that forward who can then go into the second ruck, because the returns that you're getting as a forward are in the negative, and the returns that you're getting as a second ruck are in the negative. Harry, just let him go and let him be the second ruck option for 15 ruck contests a game.
Half the time the captain pushes Aaron Mackay aside and says, I'll take this boundary throw.
And Cripps is actually going okay as that second ruck position. If you're Brisbane, right? So right now, you've brought Sam Day into your footy club, and you can absolutely understand that. Lose Joe Danaher, it's cost you absolutely nothing, both from a draft capital perspective and probably financially. If I'm Brisbane, I'm looking at what Eric Hipwood is doing as the second ruck at the moment since Sam Day's gone down. And the numbers that he's actually delivering as a second ruck are fine, no problem. And what Sam Day was producing as a key forward, well and truly in the negative. So I'm potentially looking at this going, okay, well, when Sam Day is available in 3 weeks, 4 weeks, however long it is, do we pick him or do we not? And do we actually get to pick another runner? Do we get to pick another genuine forward? Do we get to go a little bit smaller and pick someone that's actually going to have the damage inside forward 50?
Gardner's been doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, still a bit sceptical.
Okay.
Just the amount of talent they have in the forward 50, I think you can get away with not having to play a Darcy Gardner or a Sam Day and actually bring in another talent in the forward arc that's going to cause some serious scoreboard return. And then if you're Gold Coast, so Gold Coast profile at the moment, red hot, absolutely red hot. Yep. And I think, if you're Damien Hardwick, you're probably looking to go, okay, we in this to win this in 2025 because profile-wise, you're absolutely in it up to your eyeballs.
Yep.
And if we are, do we look at someone like an Ethan Reid? I mean, you did that game on the weekend, G. You look at Ethan Reid and you go, do we need him at the moment?
Yep.
Like, this kid might be a superstar. That's fine.
He's going to be,
But for 2025,
not yet.
If we're in it to win it, do we need? Because what he's delivering as a second ruck this year is he's actually the worst second ruck in the competition this year. And what he's delivering as a forward, well below expectation. So do you potentially look at someone like a Jed Walter who's only played 17 minutes in the ruck this year and go, mate, you do the 1 centre bounce for us per quarter and get you roaming around the ground and we bring in another talent, another runner, another midfielder that can go forward of centre and potentially enhance this profile even more.
Well, they did look too tall, and Ben King came into his own in the last quarter when they got Ethan Reid off the ground.
And so often, one of those tools for Gold Coast have been subbed out this year. Yeah. So I'm just looking. Just looking at it going.
Who are you bringing in?
I'm just looking at it going. I'd have to have a bit of a deeper look at their list, but I'm just more looking at it going. Don't get so consumed by who's going to play our second ruck, who's going to be that player. Look at the primary position first and foremost, and then find someone within that can attend that 1 centre bounce a quarter, that can attend those 4 around the ground stoppages a quarter.
Just imagine it was another academy kid that you brought in. That
now, hang on, you can't throw a term around like flat earthers though, and not name names. Who are the flat earth? Who's
those that select?
Yeah, but who are they? Who are they?
Well, who do you reckon they are?
Oh, they
Hoyney doesn't want to upset his customers.
They can work it out themselves.
It's not my segment,
They
Gerard.
can work it out.
You can't be throwing flat earth stones and not naming names.
We're all friends. We're all friends.
Oh, we're all friends.
We're all friends here. But
everybody buys the data. You can't.
You've got to look after your own.
Who do you think they would be?
Well, I know who's Exhibit A in the flat earth basket. In fact, he doubled down on it only a couple of days ago. Well, JL over in Perth is a flat earther.
So he's a flat earther. Who else a flat earther?
He stands. He's the poster boy for flat earthers. Who else is a flat earther?
Someone like a Mason. Someone like a Mason.
Simon Goodwin was a flat earther.
Yeah.
But he shipped one of his ruckmen up to the spot.
So he's the common denominator then, maybe, is he? Yeah, anyway. And maybe that's been Brodie Grundy has been paired with Laddams. So there's flat earth tendencies up at...
Yeah, there's definitely. Yep. There's
anyway,
a bit of flat earth going on.
We're getting sidetracked because I want to get to Hoyney's project. We gave him some homework to do, and I've seen that it's already got a fair bit of airplay this week. Carlton's disposal skill or lack thereof, where it's breaking down, strong contest, strong clearance, strong defensive profile. Just they're playing chess and other teams are playing checkers when the ball gets on the outside. Just how bad is it, please?
Jeez, it was frustrating, wasn't it, Saturday?
What, just Saturday? Oh.
Yeah, the brain and the brawn conversation that we had last week. If you just look at that game on the weekend against GWS, the Giants had 10 of the top 15 rated players on the ground for ball use, and Carlton had 10 of the top 15 rated players on the ground for ball winning. So that's where 2025...
Brain v. Brawn, which was dumbed down to the dumbest team in footy.
Jeez, you've gone hard on that, haven't you?
Well, I think you started it.
Just for Carlton supporters, I never called you the dumbest team.
Yes, you did.
But so if you look at Carlton, so we'll just take this in a couple of different angles, right? So everyone now knows that they are the worst kicking team in the competition. But it's not just the worst. Like, you can have, you can be rated or ranked 18th in the comp, but the number is more the interesting part.
Depends on the gap between 17 and 18.
The next worst team in the competition. So it's not just 18th; it's double. And you look at
how you going with that, Sam, as a Carlton supporter?
He said it was frustrating on Saturday. It's you see it every week.
Yeah, well, imagine being the coach.
So then their kicking going inside 50 again is double the next worst team in the competition. But the kicks that they're trying to actually pinpoint are actually the 4th easiest kicks that they're trying to hit in the comp. But they just haven't got the skill execution behind them. So it's not as if it's not as if, well, sure, there are at times where you look and you go, geez, you could have just taken that. You could have just taken that. But overall, across the season, they are actually, as I said, trying to take the fourth easiest kicks inside 50, going inside 50 in the competition. So there's a couple of different ways that you can actually look at this from an individual sense. So the halfback flankers, we talked about it 3 or 4 weeks ago on our rating system in the top 10 players in the competition. The majority of them were halfback flankers because of where the game's actually going.
Yep.
Carlton, on our rating system, have had one of the most damaging halfback flankers in the competition for the last 5 years, that being Adam Saab.
Yep.
Right now, he's rated just inside the top 100, which is not a terrible rating by any means, but it's nowhere near the level of impact that this guy has had on the competition for the last 4 or 5 seasons. Mitch McGovern's kicking going inside 50 is actually up there with the best of any Carlton player on their list at the moment, but yet he's getting used
as a forward.
Really deep in the defensive 50 and the defensive half at the moment. So I'll be looking at those two going, okay, how do we get these two involved offensively more to generate some higher quality ball use forward of centre? Because you go through the list, no one else really that's sort of really standing out from a ball use perspective. And then you go, okay, well, if we're going to give up that behind the footy, then what else do we need to do? And I'm looking at Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. Right, and there's been a lot of talk, do these two work? What about playing Harry behind the footy and actually playing Harry across centre half back and Harry becoming an interceptor, a Rory Lobb type interceptor that's had a significant impact on the Western Bulldogs and their defensive work for the last best part of 20 games since he's gone back? Because the reality is, when you look at what they're doing from their own ball use going inside 50, Harry's the worst kick in the competition going inside 50. Charlie's the third worst kick going inside 50 in the competition. So potentially, do you try and free this up, get him behind the footy, be another interceptor along with Wiedering? So you see Wiedering have a poor game on the weekend, everything falls apart because they haven't got anyone else behind there. Do you actually be bold and have a look at this move and put him behind there to free these others, to throw these others individuals up? And then the last piece from an overall ball movement perspective. So 2022, tram track footy, straight line footy. 2023, straight line footy. 2024, straight line footy. 2025, straight line footy. So 4 years in a row, we've seen the same ball movement system on our new ball movement rating method. Who does that remind you of? It is an absolute dead ringer of Melbourne, and I'll get into Melbourne on the other side of the break. It's an absolute dead ringer of them and their ball movement profile, which has completely flipped over the last 6 weeks. So the change of angle game is something I think Carlton need to look at and need to invest into, because right now the straight line footy, you will get entries by playing straight line footy because you're not really challenging the opposition. You're just going to go long, get the contest. That's your game. We'll get it inside 50. We talked about it round 1. The game has gone past just get it in there, just get it in there, just get it in there. Yep. So I think a combination of individuals and potentially experimenting with some magnets. I understand the Harry Mackay one might be a little bit out there, but have a look at it and have a look at your overall method to generate the better quality, higher quality entries.
There he is, Kane's just taking those notes down. He's now headed off to put the makeup on.
It's a lot of homework there, Hoyney. Nicely done, the deep dive on the Blues. The Western Bulldogs, quickly, before we get to the Guess Who, they got the bye this week as well.
So the Dogs, come with me on this. Right? So we are seeing something that we have not seen in Champion Data's history before with what they are doing at stoppage. It is ridiculous. So over half of their score is coming off the back of stoppage. Right? The highest percentage we've ever seen in our 26 years is 46%. They're at over 50%. So they're on track for something that we have not seen before. And Kingy touched on this last week on the Wednesday show on Fox around their overall raw clearance work and the net return that's coming from it. So just listen to this. So for 6 weeks in a row, for the last 6 weeks, so since Bont's come back, when they generate a clearance, they've generated 366 points on the scoreboard, right? Their own. No one's even close. It's the best 6-week stretch we've ever seen in Champion Data's history. It's phenomenal. And when they win that clearance, and the opposition somehow intercept it, which has happened over 120 times in the last 6 weeks, they've given up 3 goals going back the other way. So just keeping it nice and simple, when the Dogs win a clearance the last 6 weeks, their net return on the scoreboard is plus 346 points. It's out of control what they are doing. For Thursday night, they came up against what was the hardest team in the competition to score against from clearance.
Yeah.
They scored 21 times, right? So 21 times is the 7th most ever in a game of footy, right? Against the hardest team in the competition to score against from clearance.
But, Hoyney, there's people listening going, that's all great, but the Dogs are 6 and 5.
And this is where. But I'll back history until history changes. 18 of the last 19 premiers have been top 3 in the turnover game, which is 60% of scoring.
Mm-hmm.
The Dogs sit 9th. Will history change this year? I'll have the T-shirt on. I'll back history until history changes.
So you say no.
But what we are seeing at the moment is ridiculously different to what we've seen in our 26 years. But 18 of 19 have excelled in the turnover game, not necessarily the clearance
Who was
game.
the 19th, Hoyney?
Oh, very good, G.
Who was
Dogs
the
in
19?
16.
Hello.
The Dogs in 16.
And if they had kicked accurately on the
Very
weekend.
good. Very good.
That was a good guess who. But what is your legitimate guess who?
So just keep an eye on the Dogs. We'll just keep a track of that.
Okay, keeping a track on it.
All right. So speed of ball movement. Ball movement is 2025. We keep talking about it. What method do you go with? Last 6 weeks of the season, who is the 5th slowest ball movement team
What
in
a
the
random question. The 5th slowest?
There's always a reason why we go to the guess who. The 5th slowest ball movement team in the comp the last 6 weeks.
5th slowest.
Give us the slowest team in the comp.
Freo,
Second slowest.
Essendon,
Third slowest.
North.
Righto. Pick the 4th or the 5th and you get a medal.
4th is Richmond. 5th is who? So last 6 weeks, it's always our sample size. Who is the 5th slowest ball movement team in the comp? Freo the slowest, Essendon second slowest, Richmond, North, and then who is the 5th slowest team in the comp?
You go, Gerard.
Well, knowing you, Hoyney, it's going to be a shock. So you're probably going to tell me Brisbane or the Pies, but I'm going to go for the Swans.
And I think it is the Lions or the Pies, and I'm flipping a coin here, and I just can't decide. So I'm going to go with my first instinct, which was to say Brisbane.
Beauty. I'll win this week. It's Collingwood.
Yes,
you're
Go
beauty.
Pies. Hot Pies.
Oh, we'll get the red quarter out tomorrow at Champion Day to celebrate that one.
That's frustrating.
So, like always, there's always
Sammy
a backstory
Watts
behind
declared it. He's one of us, so you go down.
Sammy's he came in and he was all guns blazing, wasn't he?
was.
But, so Collingwood the last 6 weeks, they've absolutely well and truly moved into the pause category, right? So, I think the whole industry knows now how Fremantle play, and it's hold, and then go, and rightly or wrongly they do cop some criticism from that particular method. But from a set position, right? So just think about it from a mark or from a free kick. Right? We've got 7 years worth of speed of ball movement data now. Collingwood, with how long they take to get rid of the footy from that particular instance, is the second slowest by any team on record with what they do. So it's almost like, and then watching it on Saturday night, and now that you know this, you can't stop seeing it.
Yeah.
I said this to the boys today back in the office. It's like with Collingwood games. It's like, okay, just wake me up when the ball gets into general play. Because when the ball's in general play, then it's boom. And then it's manic and it's fast and it's electric and the hands are great and what have you. But when it's in set position mode, it's actually quite hard and quite slow to watch. It's hold, go. Yeah. So as I said, Fremantle have been in that phase for the whole season. Now the last 6 weeks, Collingwood find themselves into that season. So and then you look at the Collingwood profile at the moment. So we're 11 weeks in, and there's no sugarcoating what they do. It's absolutely red hot, all like right across the ground in pretty much just about every area. But they do give you a sniff in the ball movement game. So their ball movement themselves from one end of the ground to the other is bottom 5 in the competition, which might surprise people. So it's hold,
Yep.
go, get it long, then create the pressure, create the manic pressure, create the forward half turnover, score off the back of that. It's not necessarily slick transition like we saw in their premiership campaign in 2023. And then you look at defensively at the moment, and it's one of the best defensive profiles we've seen for a long time. But if there's one area where they do give you a sniff, it's in the ball movement game defensively. So they're actually bottom 3 in the competition at allowing you to go from one end of the ground to the other. It's just when they get it in there, they're so hard to actually score against. But they give you a sniff in terms of being able to get it in there. So if you're an opposition team at the moment, you're looking at them going, well, they probably are the best team in the competition at the moment. We've got 3 months, 4 months to go. How do we start to pick apart what they are doing? That's where I'm actually starting from is, okay, this ball movement game, both offensively and defensively, from a D50 perspective, offensively and defensively, that is, let's start just having a look at how we can expose that and start to chip away at that particular aspect.
Is their defence or their ball movement vulnerable from a stoppage or a turnover? Is there a distinction between that?
They defend the scoreboard situation as well as anyone else in the competition, but how they let you get it in there, they give you a look both from turnover and from clearance.
Hoyney, where are you taking us next? Exactly what is wrong with Hawthorn?
I'm going to go a lot of the other way here. I'm going to go, I think there's a lot going right with Hawthorn. I thought they just came up against a team on the weekend that was red hot defensively.
And before
that shut them down. But I think outside of that, we've seen everyone. We saw Brisbane at stages this year have a flat performance. Yep. We've seen Geelong have a flat performance, Collingwood, and so on. So I'm not going to jump at that. I'm more looking at it from a Hawthorn perspective. Don't panic at the moment with your overall holistic profile. Why are you looking at me?
I'm looking at you like this because this is fascinating right now because we're about to reach I would contend, potentially season-defining stretch of their season. So it does go Collingwood, it does go Dogs, it does go Crows in the next 3 weeks. I mean, that's a solid audit over a 3-week period.
Can't wait for it. And that's why I wanted to go with this right now, right? So from a profile perspective, what they're doing with the footy, top 5 in the comp. What they're doing without the footy, number 1 in the competition in terms of what they're doing defensively at restricting the opposition. Even though they lost on the weekend, Brisbane, 93 points, which is a good return, but we've seen Brisbane pile on some significant scoreboard returns over the last couple of years, so not horrendous. What they're doing from a post-clearance perspective, number 2 in the competition, and their raw clearance work is mid-table. So if that profile persists for the next 3 months of the season, 4 months of the season, they are going to be in this up to their absolute eyeballs. The one aspect of their game which Sam Mitchell and the coaching group will need to go to work on is how do they get more scoreboard return when they win the ball back off the opposition. So they're bottom 6 at the moment. That's the one area of their profile at the moment that is standing out. When they win the footy, how do they generate this scoreboard return like we saw them do in the last 3-4 months of the year where, along with Brisbane, they were the best offensive team in the competition in this area. And other than really Carl Amon at the moment, who's inside our top 20 players in the competition, we talk about the halfback flankers, they haven't got anyone else behind the footy at the moment that's causing such significant headaches with how they're using the footy. Everyone's talking about Sicily, we know that. Battle and Barras going okay defensively, but what are they actually offering you offensively? Not as much as what they probably would have been hoping. I'm potentially looking at someone like a Massimo D'Ambrosio, who we talked about at length last season, probably should have been recognised as the All-Australian winger. Top 20 player in the competition last year, 162nd this year.
Dropped off.
So we talk about ball use and 2025 and how important that is. That was this guy's point of difference on the competition last year. It's gone missing. Do they actually look to redeploy him across to halfback and have Amon on one halfback flank and have this guy on the other halfback flank to generate this offensive return? Dacos in Houston, we see that. Brisbane have got them coming from everywhere.
Can you be both number 1 defensively, though, and generate as much attack as you'd like them to attack?
I think there's so many teams, I think Hawthorn are actually in this category as well, that don't necessarily need to be number 1
Got to give up something to get something.
Because I think your point of difference is what you're doing, offensively. We talked about Adelaide and Brisbane last week.
Yeah.
Offensively is their point of difference. I think Hawthorn sit in that category as well. So potentially a magnet move there to get this going. Because other than that, profile-wise, Hawthorn supporter, hold the line.
Okay, holding the line.
Demons?
Well, Carlton discussion 15 minutes ago, however long it was.
Yeah.
Straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line, straight line.
What was that show called back in the day? Total Makeover? Is that what they've had?
It's full on hats off. I wouldn't even know what you're talking about, but I'll roll with you, Sammy. But so it's hats off to the coaching group here and also to the list management group. So everything to be successful in this industry has to go hand in hand. So as I said, 4 years in a row from 21 to 24 was straight line footy. First 5 weeks of the season, straight line footy again. Fourth quickest team in the competition was how they moved it, but it was just straight line, straight line, straight line. Now, the last 6 weeks of the season, there is no one in this competition that is playing the change of angles game more than what Melbourne is. It's a complete difference. And then as a result of expanding your method and expanding what you're doing from a ball movement situation, your forward 50 is functioning up there with the best forward 50s in the competition off the back of having Harrison Petty and Aiden Johnson as your key forwards. So for those that want to talk to me about the key forward situation and Joe Danaher, geez, Brisbane are missing Joe Danaher, spare me. Because you got Carlton model, which is straight line, straight line, straight line with Charlie and Harry.
Yeah.
They're 18th. Your method is what will generate the opportunities, not the individuals ahead of the actual footy. So hats off to the coaching group from that. And then from the list management side of things. So their drafting over the last 2 years has clearly turned to a ball use method.
Yep.
So you bring in Windsor, who's got speed and ball use. You bring in Langford, who's got ball use. You've got Lindsay, who's ball use.
Salem's back.
Off the back of this coaching method to change up your style, it's refreshing to see and to hear so many Melbourne supporters. I got a couple of mates that are Melbourne supporters, and they're enjoying the footy so much over the last 6 weeks off the back of this. So
I haven't seen
well
angry
done to
smile
everyone involved
for months, and yet all of a sudden he's feeling so much better about life.
Yeah, so much about life.
About life.
Angry.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
he's much better. He's not as angry these days. It's also a message, I think. Like the story was from Tom Morris today. The Swans are going out on this massive recruiting spree, and everyone goes, we've got to get the full forward. Is Charlie Curnow going to be the man? Charlie Curnow's in a side that's not playing well, and he's not the difference.
And can I just give a shout out to one individual, Daniel Turner, behind the footy? I was surprised when Tom McDonald actually got omitted and Turner stayed in, and I was like, I'm a bit curious about that. Well, Melbourne are all over the data. Clearly, his performance at the moment is actually top 50 in the competition the last 6 weeks.
It's a bit of a shout out to the coach too, because he was being sacked by half the media.
Shout out to everyone. Well done. So good footy to watch, enjoyable.
Now, I've been staring at this for a while. What have you got written down here? XXX Mantle?
XXX Mantle. So I'm talking about Fremantle.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm talking about Fremantle, and I'm looking at Fremantle in 30 games' time.
Yep.
So the Roman numerals, XXX,
Okay.
30 games' time.
Oh, creative.
30 games'
Gerard
time.
was going elsewhere.
So I think if you're Fremantle, if you're
Us as a strip club again.
we can go there again. I think if we're an industry and if you're Fremantle, I think if you're judging Justin Longmuir, judge the method and what you believe in as a coach and how you want to play and all that sort of stuff. That's what I'd be analysing. But I think bigger picture wise, I'd be judging this guy in terms of overall performance in 30 games time, not now and not over the next 10 weeks.
So the end of 2-6.
Because the reality is their average age this year is 24 and a half, give or take, right? So to put that into context, so 24 and a half years per player, put that into context over the last 10 years, for any team that's been around that average age, we've seen only one team win a final with that age profile.
And yet we all had them right at the top.
Adam Simpson's of that view, isn't he?
And I think from a list perspective, absolutely, Sammy. I look at it and go, geez, they've got so much talent here.
Yep.
What David Walls and the list management team have been able to build is exciting. But I think overall, when you're judging Justin Longmuir and this footy club, the jumping up and down about inconsistent performance, the St Kilda performance, the Geelong performance, the Melbourne performance, judge it in 30 games' time. Not right now, because just with where they're at from a list profile and on the weekend, not one player in their 23 was over 30. Right? Only 6 players. So the average age for a premiership team is 26 and a half years, right? They had 6 players who were 26 and a half years or older on the weekend. They're not ready at the moment. They'll be ready in 30 games' time when they get to that 26 and a half year bracket. Not right now. So 30 games' time, let's analyse Justin Longmuir and Fremantle, not necessarily now.
Hoyney, who did the coaches miss at the weekend?
Yeah, who did the coaches miss? I almost missed this myself when I was doing the prep work. But yeah, so we'll go back to Saturday. Just Sam Doherty, just a bit of a shout out there. His highest rated game for more than 9 years, actually. Sorry, his second highest rated game in 9 years. So 30 disposals. Wow. Well done to Sam Doherty. He didn't get a vote, but we had him as the highest rated player on the ground. Good to see Charlie Cameron back on Saturday.
Yep.
His accuracy in front of goal, we talk about it on this show.
Yep.
Great accuracy rewards you, poor accuracy kills you. That snap, that left foot snap, in the
unbelievable.
24% of the time you kick a goal from that.
The arcing left foot
particular
snap.
Position.
And people want to question why you should have a left foot. Ask Zerha. May have cost North Melbourne the game.
Good call.
So Charlie Compton again, third highest rated player on the ground, didn't get a vote. Really good signs for Charlie. So against Brisbane and Collingwood in 2 of the last 3 weeks, he has been phenomenal in what he's been able to do. So hats off there to Charlie Compton. Saturday night, Zach Butters, second highest rated player on the ground, Zach Butters. So
he really misses out on coaches' support.
Yeah, I can understand that, just given the dominance by Freo, but just want to give him a bit of a shout out there. He's, his effort from a contest and clearance perspective was significant, and really like the performance of Daniel Curtin on the weekend.
The Iron Curtain.
Yeah, the Iron Curtain. Jeez, you're sharp with that.
If he was playing back, he's the Iron Curtain.
So playing that wing role, so it could be a little modern day winger now with the height and the ability to be able to push forward and push back from an aerial perspective. Fourth highest rated player on the ground. What he's doing from a post clearance perspective should be noted. So going along
not by the coaches.
Quite nicely,
Come on,
Daniel Curtin.
All right. Your MDP, most damaging player, Hoyney.
Friday night wasn't a great game of footy, but Nick Martin was the highest rated player of the weekend. So well done there to Nick.
Do you have
Martin.
a rating on how bad and how good games are?
We can come up with one. Do you want to?
Because I reckon Thursday was a 9.5 out of 10, and I think Friday was.
I think Friday was like a drop pie in the street. That was horrific.
Pie.
In fact, I didn't even.
Description.
I had to turn off, and I don't have to do that
awake,
often.
wasn't it? Actually,
Yeah, it was.
Go back to Thursday night. You were down there for SENG. Jeremy Cameron. No one had greater impact with how they used
Didn't
the
get
footy. A vote. No. He got votes, but this is our overall MDP for the weekend. So no one had greater impact with how they used the footy. Ball winning, this guy is up there week after week. Tristan Cherry, no player this weekend had greater impact with how they actually won the footy. And again, Friday night, bit of a shout out to Richmond supporters, or a Richmond player here, Campbell Gray. So no one had greater impact with how through their defensive actions what he did. 13 spoils. He's the least experienced player in the history of the game to have 13 spoils. So second game, 13 spoils. So well done there to Campbell Gray.
Spud would be recognising that in the afterlife.
Gem and horror.
I've got 2 gems today.
No horror.
We're going to finish on a
Hoyney,
positive.
but have a horror.
We've got the buys this weekend. We're going to have to watch
Horror
7
sells.
games of footy this weekend.
Horror
sells. Well, so Bailey Smith. So 7 games in a row, he's had 600 plus metres. No midfielder in the history of the game has done that before. So some halfback flankers have done it, but Bailey Smith,
is he using it well?
First midfielder going along very nicely in all aspects of the game, Bailey Smith.
That's a gem.
And then just a bit of a shout out to the debutant Friday night, Angus Clark.
Wasn't he good?
That was the second highest rated debut by an Essendon player in our rating system. Only Nick Martin's 5 goals on debut. Rated
played,
higher
Angus.
than Angus Clark. So well done there to Angus.
I don't know where you want to take this, but we've got a text here. Can Hoyney talk about the Saints next week? So just put that on your radar.
Give us a
Hoyney,
brief synopsis of them right now, Hoyney.
Oh.
They've lost their ball movement game, their offensive ball movement game from last year. They were one of the most potent teams in the comp. They've lost that this year. I'll get into that next week for that caller.
Superb, Hoyney. We'll see you next week.